And growing up at a young age, being incarcerated, not knowing where you're going, stripped them of their culture, who they were. It was lonely. You are forced to survive. And then I became a patch member of the Tribesman. Because we had relations in the Rebels motorcycle club, we made the decision to patch over to the Rebels. At president level, things are more extreme up there. Everything around me was falling to pieces, so I knew that I had to get away from everything, helping out whānau in the community. Continue the mahi I'm doing now, the well-being of our Nga Puhi people.
Well, could you please introduce yourself and where you're from originally?
Okay, kia ora tātou, mihi atu kia koutou ki te mātakitaki au. Hei ko konei tēnei i tako i tōku whare. Ko ai au who I am, ko Jay Hepi tōku ingoa. I whānau mai au ke konei ki te huipero o Kaikohe. I was born here in Kaikohe, the Kaikohe Hospital. Te puaka au ki te whenua o Taiamai me ki konei Kaikohe. So I was brought up and around Kaikohe and Hawaii. Currently I train our young boys and men in Kaikohe, get them prepared for fight shows, also teach them about health and fitness and discipline. I work for an organisation, an iwi organisation called Te Hauora Nga Puhi, and have been so for 6 years, which is helping out whānau in the community. Yeah, so that keeps me very busy. I'm a solo dad. I live here with my son. I suppose in my young days I was a bit of a terror, and so as you grow and you learn, and at these stages in my life, it's all about give back to the community, give back to our people. I'll try and be an inspiration to the many that are still in the world that I've been involved in. To try and show that there is that you can achieve anything if you really try and you stick to it and you have humility, you have commitment, resilience, and to keep striving for greater things. Actually, I was brought up in Hawaii, 10 siblings. Brought up in a house with no power, no running water. So my father worked in the motor freezing works, so he was a shearer down in Jay Hepi prior to that. But up here in the north, he was working down at the motor freezing works until he cut his leg open, boning, and then he was on ACC for quite some time. My mother was a very hard worker, worked in the orchards out in Kirikiri. It was a hard upbringing, actually. But I look back at it now, maybe who I am today. I don't dwell on it, I don't blame my parents or anything for it. Was just the way of life back then. I was born in the 70s. If you know any history about the 70s, over I think 7% of boys born in the 70s under the age of 15 were put into state care. Me and my brother was part of that, and can you imagine the amount of boys that was in state care, kidnapped by the Crown. So we went to Awairaka, spent some time there, and then sent down to Kohitere and spent some time there, and then returned home into social welfare homes in Kaikohe. You live in the most northern part of the North Island, and then they send you right down to the bottom of the North Island. You have no connection to anybody down there, nothing at all. So they alienated, me from my whānau. And I don't know, I look back at it now and I say, it was part of the system to alienate young boys at that age, so they come to a stage where they don't know their own identity, they don't know their culture. They've been stripped. The Crown stripped them of their culture, who they were, where they come from the world of Māori. It was lonely. It was lonely because we weren't allowed to mix with the adult prisoners, so they'd lock us up in isolation by ourselves, away from any other youth. Sometimes we transported, there wasn't any residents up in here in Kaiko, so they'd transport us to the whangarei cells. And, growing up at a young age, being being incarcerated, not knowing where you're going, not knowing what's happening, it was quite lonely. Well, it's survival, eh? You are forced to survive. You are forced to adapt to the environment that you're in. It's at such a young age, because your environment changes so fast, and you're with different people, move into different areas, and it could be hostile. Some areas could be hostile. I see some today doing well, being being strong advocates for state care children. Um, I haven't seen many others. I know when I was in Kohitere, there was a system called Street Me a Ping. You had a hierarchy. You had a kingpin. You had a hierarchy system, and if you're a newbie, if you didn't say ping, you get a hiding. Yeah. So they had that system, and a lot of boys used to get hidings, and it sounds so immature when you talk about it now, but it's how it was. It's how the boys' homes were in those days. And our kingpin at that time, well, which was I was fortunate to, because he was in the Wairaka with us, fortunate to travel down to Kohitere, our kingpin back then. As he grew up, he became one of the strongest players for the New Zealand Warriors team. Yeah. So it's good to see that. Well, you learn through that when you're at a young age like that, and you're coming through, going into your later teens. You learn to adapt to different worldviews very quickly, um, and you learn to change your mindset very quickly as well, because a lot of it is survival. A lot of it is making friendships. Those friendships, they stick with you as you grow into adulthood. It's like when kids go to school, they always have childhood friends when they grow up with. Well, a lot of ours was in state care, and we were all there just trying to survive all that kind of stuff. There was a club called the Tribesman Motorcycle Club here in Kaikui. It was actually the Black Power as well. I would come into Kaikui and you'd see them walking around town. You'd see the tribesmen on motorcycles, and it sort of just resonated with you, because Māoris back then on motorbikes was unheard of. But you just saw, you wanted to be was wow. Yeah, well, we have a tight connection with Otara. There's a tight connection because a lot of the families from here um, migrated to Otara, um, and the founder is buried just up the road in Taringa, Migoi Tahiti. And so there's always that close connection between our family, the families here, the young fellas here, and the young fellas in Otara, and always has been since it started. Okay, yeah, so I come back up to the north, staying in some foster homes up here, some really good ones too, good families, and then went back home. Well, it was still the same as when we left. Yeah, I used to play rugby league, and up here in Kaikoui, and a friend of ours um, got us to go to Auckland and play for Mount Albert Lions, Northcote Tigers. But when you're growing up, when you're growing up and you see certain things happening in clubs, and you think, that's all I want to be. So as you're growing up in life, you're doing other things in life, but you always move back to, um, well, like for me it was tribesmen. Being as a kid and see them, and that, even though I was out there in the world doing rugby league, and so forth, all I wanted to do was go back and be a member of the tribesmen. I moved to Auckland. I was working at Pacific Travel downtown Auckland. I was a motorcycle courier, And then I started I started prospecting for the local Tribesman motorcycle club. It was eye-opening, but it was something that I was passionate about for quite a long time. My heart was set on it. And I'm a person who sets out to achieve goals and just, I'm just drawn to achieving that goal and confidently getting to that space. I'm always busy with league, busy with work. Nothing really spontaneous. Yeah, the fight scene came a lot later. Yeah, it came in my 30s, the fight scene. So that was after joining the Tribesman. Um, and whilst I was, and then I became a patch member of the Tribesman, and then a sergeant of arms, and then the president. But in that time frame, I was also, me and another friend, we were riding to Auckland University, doing a Bachelor of Multi-Development, majoring in business. We were also involved with rugby league, and then I got involved in kickboxing, and that became a huge part of my life. I had young children as well. I had a family. I was living on the shore, Glenfield. Yeah, so that was all happening at once as well. So I always believe that it has to be a balance in life for every, for the club scene. You have to balance it out with family. You have to balance it out with sport. You have to balance it out with another totally different collective of grouping of people, just to keep that balance. Because sometimes over this side, it can really take you down to dark places, and it's really hard to get back up into the light. But if you're over here, you've got another space where you're already in that light. So yeah, I always believed in balancing it out. It was also, we used to ride to university, do our studies. My mate got a diploma. I did 2 years. I was going on my third year, and then that's when kickboxing come into the equation, and it just took over my life. And then I started travelling up and down the country, overseas. Became a Thai boxing heavyweight New Zealand champion. Got my belt down in Wellington. Become a fighter on the K1 series, so on the televised shows. So I rose quite rapidly. I take it back to, because when we were young, me and my brother always used to fight, or my older brother always used to fight, when we were young, the only way we were going to fight. And our dad always said to us, the one who loses is going to get another hiding. So you didn't get one hiding, you got two hidings. And usually that was me, because I was always getting the first hiding from my older brother. And you learn from that, and we got brought up in a violent home, a lot of violence. So you come through the years, it becomes second nature. Um, and then got into kickboxing, fighting, and then quickly rose to New Zealand champion, K1, travelled to Thailand, travelled to Aussie, travelled right throughout the country. And it was awesome, because there's some awesome people in there. I think what contributed to me being a good leader was the fact that that wasn't all I was doing. I wasn't just being a gang member. I was also involved with sports, also involved with a lot of different worldviews, different areas. Um, and my brothers, and I have three brothers who was also in the club, nephews as well. And so it was a lot of friends that were in the club as well. And, you know, a lot of great mentors who all passed away now, but really good, like older brothers who taught us everything, showed us the way, guided us. Members from Murupara, Auckland. I don't have any regrets about that life. Um, I still don't have any regrets, and it was a part of your life. And, that grouping of people were your family for Like for me, it was 14 years. So they were a part of my family for 14 years. And, my children were there. My children still remember them because they're all grown up now. They still remember the days, and they know the children of the other members, and they still have conversations and so forth. Still in the tribesman for quite some more years after that doco, and because we had relations in the Rebels motorcycle club over in Melbourne, and they continuously come over, were talking to us, and then we made the decision to pitch over to the Rebels. But before we did that, I went to Auckland and asked for the blessing from our chiefs there. Then went rode down to Murupara and saw our chiefs down there and asked for their blessings. Some didn't like it, which was totally, one of our chiefs said, felt like half his body had been cut off because we had been there for so many years, and I can understand it. I didn't understand it at the time, but I can understand how they felt. A couple of years after that, there was some animosity between us, which was to be expected. But we knew that time was going to be the healer, and we just had to withstand that time frame and let time take over. So 2 years there was shots fired and all this kind of stuff. And then so we started up the Rebels. Alex Fella couldn't get into Australia. I couldn't get into New Zealand. I couldn't get into Australia. So three of us flew over to Thailand, and we met him and his team over there. And it was an honour to meet him because you hear a lot about him, but it has to be one of the biggest gangsters in Australia. So it was a real honour to sit there with him and be part of a discussion. And then we cemented the Rebels New Zealand chapter over in Thailand, and the rest is history.
So, like up to this point, drugs wasn't in the picture for you, was it?
No.
Well, what was your view of like drugs and stuff by this point?
I was a judgmental prick. if you've got to be honest, I was a judgmental person from this side of the fence until I fell over on that side of the fence, and then I become the very person I was judgmental against when I was over this side. So I went through a couple of years over the fence, and part of me says I regret going there, and another part says that that it taught me a lot about that drug that you won't know if you didn't go there. You can be someone from this side who perceives, they're all just all crackheads, or they're all, that kind of stuff. But it's not until you go through it that you know every bit of branch that springs off it, like deceit, like betrayal, like the evil thoughts that happen, the extreme, the psychotic behavior, the relationship, how it's so accessible, where all that stuff. You learn all that stuff, and I did learn a lot. I didn't. I'm not proud of it, but I did learn. I did learn a lot, and it's helped me when I come out of that fire. It helped me with all the men that I'm sort of helping through all the men's groups that I've been working with over the last 7-8 years. I know exactly where they are, what kind of mind space they're in. So yeah, We went for a ride down the South Island, and we got on the drinks all night, and then I woke up in the morning and we had to ride back. And we had been up till since 5 in the morning drinking, and then we had to leave at 7. And I got up, and my head was still heavy, and I was looking around, and all my mates were, geez, they were bright-eyed, and they were rearing to go. And I said, "How the heck?" And then one of my other bros pointed to a line, and then that's where it all started from. Um, and then it went to using for maybe 2 to 3 years. And then I think it really got to a stage at the end of at the end of it where things were getting out of, things were getting out of hand. My mind, the family, I wasn't the club. There was a lot of responsibility there, and I felt that I wasn't in the right frame of mind to be in that position. So I stood down. Um, my marriage was falling to pieces. Everything around me was falling to pieces. So I knew that I had to get away from everything, get away from it all, and just go back to the very basics and start, get work, start some really hard work, and just clear my mind, because there were some bad things, bad thoughts. And when you're at that high, when you're at president level, things are more extreme up there because a lot of people are biting at your toes, biting at your feet, biting at your heels, um, looking at you. Because when you look at a club, you don't look at the members, you look who's leading that club. And yeah, I felt that at that stage of my life, I felt that I was the wrong person to be doing that. So um, I took responsibility for my actions and just pulled away, and then started like, I couldn't do anything until I worked on myself. I was no use to anybody until I worked on myself and got myself sorted. And it took quite a few years. It took quite a few years. And you had to have humility because you go from one side of the spectrum where you have it all and you're right up the top there, the cars, the bike, everything, you have it all, to the other side where I went to out of the club, was a nobody, had to go do manual work. I was scaffolding black steel, so that was hard manual work. Was cruising around on a people moving van, it got to that stage. But I knew I had to do that, and I knew it was humility that, you know, that kept me there. It's not an easy place to be proud to be, but I knew that I had to be there to start over again. And that was 10 years ago. And year by year, and the first year was very hard. Nobody wanted to know me from that side, and that's okay because over this side it was just me and my family, and my kids were young then. But I knew that I had to just really stick at what I was doing, um, to to really for myself to get ahead and to be a better person for my family. So I just worked. I didn't really dream I'd be where I am today, but I've always been a goal-oriented person, and I always achieve. I always vision like I'm always strategic in where I'm going to or what I'm doing, and I always believe I can see where I'm going to, so I always look 5 years ahead of myself. Okay, there's the goal. How am I going to get there? If it's one step at a time, 1 foot at a time, one step in front of another, then so be it. You got to have patience. You got to have resilience. And my childhood taught me that. All the trauma, all the being in state care, all that. You have to adapt. You have to adapt to the environment you're in very quickly, and you just got to keep moving forward. You can't dwell on what's happening. You can't dwell on what the present is happening, but as long as you can see ahead, get a vision and a goal, and you just work slowly, grind away towards it. And yeah, I think it took me 4 years to get out of that space, out of that hard grind, and slowly start working myself up again. And it's hard. I tell you, it's hard. You know, a lot of my friends, I've buried a lot of, I've been to a lot of my friends' funerals who couldn't do it, um, committed suicide, um, because sometimes they close that door and the door just never opens and they don't come out of it, and next minute komate, hung themselves. So you got to be really strong to do it. I joined the church, I think it was 2 years afterwards as well, Destiny Church. And so I stayed there and it helped me. It helped me because there were some strong support people in that church, some good people too. Um, I was part of the senior group that also implemented two tangata riders. And I stayed there for maybe 6 years. And then God said to me, "Hey, Jay." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You've done your leg, mate. Where you go?" And I said, "You're joking, God." He goes, "No, get out of that world again." And I said, "Oh, you're on a clean slate now." And I said, "Oh, thank you, Lord. I'll see you when I see you." So I've been working for the iwi lately over the last few years. It's been really good. Before that, I was granted a provincial growth fund, and I employed 12 workers. And that was for 2 years. So yeah, so I slowly climbed up that ladder, and here today, um, yeah, I'm in a really good space. But it took time. It took 10 years. I ran for mayor, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, the cheek of that bugger," but I've always, we only get one life, Dave. We only get one life, and I'm a person that. Because my mother groomed us when we were young. Oh, yeah, swearing at us all the time. You effing this, you effing that, you effing this. So as you get older, you learn to not worry what other people say. A lot of people are very conscious, and they really care what other people talk about them, and that stops progress. Whereas myself, I don't. Um, I was talking to you earlier about the cricket world that we live in. People that chirp, 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 chirp until you get closer. And they'll go quiet, and as soon as you walk away, they start cricket, cricket, And that's always, with me, I've always had people like that talking about me, but it doesn't worry me. And I know that I'll go to the grave, my deathbed, and I won't regret anything. I won't say, "Oh, I should have done this, should have done that," because I did do everything. I did do everything. When I made a decision to do something, I didn't care what other people thought. I did it. Um, yeah, you'll get hated for doing it, but like I said, you only get one life, and if you don't follow the decision, or what you want to do, then you're living somebody else's life. Yeah, and you'll go to your deathbed regretting that. "Oh, I should have done that. I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have done this." Yeah. So when I ran for mayor, mayor of the Far North District, there hadn't been a Māori mayor for quite a few number of years. There was 11 candidates in the race that year I ran. I come fourth out of 11 candidates. The first one to come in was the mayor himself. The second was the deputy mayor. The third was a councillor. Oh no, I came fifth, sorry, and two councillors, and then me. And with a gang background, with all my years, I was really privileged to have come fifth out of the 11. And I'm proud to say now we got a Māori mayor. So maybe it instigated something. And he's a good man now, Māori mayor. Oh yeah, when I left the Rebels, yeah, I wasn't in good mind space. I knew I had to get away, so I stood down, and then several months passed. I joined the church, and there's two reasons why I joined the church. One, because there was at that stage of time, I knew there was other clubs that would have approached me and asked to join them, and I wasn't in the right mindset to join anything except for church. And even when I joined church, people were saying, "Oh, he's gone." Yeah, yeah. But I joined the Man Up crew. then, and only because there were some good friends of mine in there. Only because I needed, I needed help, I suppose, and that helped me through that rocky time because there was some good support, and my family enjoyed it as well. And then yeah, that and work sort of settled me down, got me back into a routine, put me in a good mind space. I was still riding with the two tongue at the right, still traveling around, doing all that kind of stuff. I think the moment I decided that it was my time, or God decided, it was when I lost some good friends of mine. One who was a person who brought me into the church, and she had been chasing me for years and years. Was a school friend, and she died suddenly. And not long after that, it was a good friend of mine, Kingo. He was a mobster down in King Country, and he come off his motorcycle out to Nokianga. And then that put me into this space now, which is my sort of my new waka, my new journey is um, working for the iwi, working with our youth, um, working in our community. Well, when back in my heyday, they'll have padlocks on every building and wouldn't give me one key to any building. That's the truth. Now buildings just open up for me. Um, I consider to have people will always be stuck in my past, and you'll always get that, and that doesn't worry me. They can park up there and camp there as long as they want. Well, that's my past. I've moved on from my past, and I'm looking forward to the future. But people will always bring up my gang background. But that's all they know. That's all they think about is gang. That word gang. They don't know where I come from. They don't know where it started from. And it started from when you were put in state care as a child. I've been involved in this. Not more, not one more mokopuna, which is Nga Puhi iwi, standing for our mokopuna. We have the highest ratio of children in care, Nga Puhi. Yeah, we're trying to set up a system where we look after our own, for Māori, by Māori, because the Crown hasn't worked for many, many years and our children are still getting abused to this day. And they reckon 85% of children put into state care end up in jail. The organisation I work for, we just finished building 60 houses for 60 whānau in Kaikoai. It's a game breaker for a lot of whānau here who have been sleeping in cars, who have been sleeping in overcrowded housing. We run a gymnasium over here to help out our youth and to help out our young men or our men. I'll give you an example. There was a big two groups in town just recently, maybe 6 months ago, who were fighting each other physically. Were turned into guns being pulled out, shooting out houses. The families got worried that one of their boys were going to come home on the boxing, and had it not been real, then it would have happened. Because young people, they can't control their emotions and they can't pull themselves in. So we organised for to bring all these young fellas together with all their supporters. There must have been about 250 supporters, and we had controlled fights, one-on-one fights, controlled, and we had a karakia before. We had a mihi karakia after. We let them fight until nobody wanted to fight anymore. And then we had a big kai afterwards. And now these boys have been training together since and fighting in actual competitions up and down the country. So we've set a goal for them and given them a goal to reach, and they love it. They've been involved right from day one. There's no animosity anymore. We controlled the situation. We didn't have to wait for the police. We took it into our own hands. My plans is really to continue the mahi I'm doing now. Kia tūtaka ai te whare o tapu o Nga Puhi, which is the well-being of our Nga Puhi people, to continue the mahi that we are doing now, to ensure that our whānau katoa are safely living in warm, dry homes. We're helping them to try to stay out of um, our local prison, which is Darfa Prison, for me to do the best that I can, where possible. yeah, and that's all I suppose my message is to all those wanting to join the gangs. You know, if you're going to join them, ensure that you got to ensure, or if your son's going to join it, you're not going to stop him by saying no, 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 because that'll push him there more. But encourage him to get a trade, encourage him to get some kind of form of education, so he can do that while he's in the club. He can be an asset. Um, if he's going to be join the club, just don't be a member, be the member. Strive for big things and better things for yourself and for your team. And that's what I always pushed for, to strive higher and higher and higher. Um, don't use crack. It's no good. History's told us that. Deaths have told us that.